in the NOLA, show me the party. Let me hear the people say, hey.
What's up, my good people? Welcome to another edition of the Lanyard Podcast with your host, Big Bob. And today we're going to discuss another loss by the New Orleans Saints versus the Miami Dolphins. So let's see what this game had to offer. First off, just my thoughts. I think the offense is broken. I think Kellen Moore is. I don't want to say he's in over his head. I think that he hasn't shown that he has the ability to be the play caller that he once was in Dallas, in Los Angeles, and in Philadelphia. Again, he may not have the horses, he may not have his players, but at some point, your scheme has to fit the players that you have. And the only reason it semi looked like it works sometimes is because Shuck can make the off schedule play. He can step up in a pocket, he can avoid pressure, and he can find an open receiver downfield. Um, so that's something that I don't know what Kellen Moore has to do. You thought over the bye week he would have self scouted, and maybe he did. Maybe it just didn't work. I don't know. But the first 15 plays normally of every game for every NFL team is scripted, and I can't tell you the last time not only us scoring in the first quarter, but getting a first down on the first drive is ridiculous. You know, I see growth from the players. Um, Shuck, some members of the offensive line, running back, even the receivers. Um, but it's just it just seems like a lateral movement from the coach every game, game after game. It seems like it's the same thing. It seems like it's the same problem. And again, I don't want to say that he's in over his head, but um, maybe he is. Maybe it's the head coaching duties, the man management, the you know logistics and everything that go along with being a head coach that you know is interrupting his ability to call plays because that's all that it was about. When he was with Philly and Dallas and the Chargers. You know, now he has pretty much has the fate of the entire team on his shoulders, and that can be a heavy burden. I've never been a coach, a head coach, or anything like that. But man, if you wearing that cape, man, a lot of people tugging on it. So, um, only I can say for Kellen Moore is, bro, you need to get it together. You have grace for this season. Um, I can't guarantee you that's how it's gonna go next year. You know, uh, the fans of New Orleans can be loyal, can be a fickle bunch. So, man, get it right. If you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. But anyway, man, let's get to the stats of the game and let's see how it worked out for them. So, Saints lost to the Dolphins. Um, the team stats: Saints had 20 first downs. The Dolphins had 16. Third down efficiency. Uh, Saints were 4 of 12. Dolphins were 4 of 12. Fourth down, Saints were 0-1. Dolphins 0-1. Rushing yards, Saints had 81. Dolphins had 164. Passing yards, 213 for the Saints, 134 for the Dolphins. Total yards favored the Dolphins, 298, 294 for the Saints. 4 sacks apiece, one interception thrown apiece. Um, 6 punts for a 48-yard average for the Saints, and four for a 50-yard average for the Dolphins. Penalties, Saints had 6 for 45, and Dolphins had 3 for 15. Saints lost one fumble, and the Dolphins did not. Time of possession, 29:52 to 30 for the Dolphins. So, I mean, just going over that box score, you think that it was a close game, a game more like it was played in the second half. Man, I tell you, the Saints couldn't do anything in the first half. And they just looked lethargic. They looked like they didn't want to be there. Um, but tale of two halves. Um, I saw after halftime, man, I saw receivers that made plays on the ball. I saw defensive players that made plays on the ball. It was just the overall good second half effort. But we got to stop getting off the slow starts. Slow starts are killing us. You can't be behind the eight ball every game, game after game. It just can't happen. So I don't know what the coaches have to do to get that fixed, but that's something they need to prioritize for the rest of this year. Um, but yeah, again, Kellen Moore, what are you out there doing, man? Got to be better. You got to be better. Um, so into the individual stat, Tyler Shuck, uh, he was 26 for 38 for 239 yards, two touchdowns, one interception. He did have a fumble. Um, and man, I don't think Tyler Shuck has had a bad game. Now, I do think he's had um, off games like the last game against Atlanta. I thought that was an off game. Um, Carolina game, like I said, that may have been his plateau. But we'll see. I mean, again, he's a rookie. Um, he's still learning the offense, still getting used to the speed of the NFL. But you know, I need to see from Chuck being able to make in structure plays, like play as the play was called, not scrambling around, running around, throwing receivers open downfield. Yeah, we're gonna need that. That's something big that a quarterback should have, right? Should be able to do scramble drills. But yeah, I'm gonna need to see him stop holding on to the ball, stop taking sacks. Um, he's gonna need to be better. He's gonna need to be better. Um, Rushing, Devin Neal, 14 for 47. Which I thought that was pretty sweet, pretty average. You know, um, again, he's not being, he's not getting the AK touches. Um, I would like to see them feed him maybe a little bit more. But then again, that comes with offensive line. We have to we have to change up our guards. We have to change up our guard play. Um, the interior of the offensive line is just the weak point. Um, uh, Hull, um, and I can't remember the cat's first name, but he had 5 carries for 15 yards. Um, which, looking at him play, he had a little bit of Taysom Hill, short yardage back, move the crowd, move the pile. So yeah, you know, hopefully we get to see more of him. And then old man Taysom, 1 carry for 2 yards, and I'm not mad at that. Like I said last episode, I think it's time to retire the Taysom Hill package. Um, I think honestly he may be more of an asset out in space. You know, you can get him out in the flat or out on a route, man. You might be able to break one. Not for long, but you might be able to break one. And then Mason Tipton had one carry for -1 yard. Receiving, um, Devon Vele. It's about time that we get our money's worth from the trade. And with this game, I can see why they traded the 2 pick for him, and I'm completely fine with that. You know, I'm still kind of leery about him being an older second year player. I think he's what, 27, but 8 catches, 93 yards, 1 touchdown, all pretty much contested catches. Um, and it's something we haven't had in a while. But I mean, this guy looked really good. He really looked like a compliment to Olave. And I said, a while ago, um, maybe when they made the trade for Vele, they are rebuilding the receiver corps. And it won't be this year, but next year you'll see Olave, Vele, Palmer, Polk, Tipton, and then your first or second round draft pick. So come next year, this will be a completely different receiving core, and you won't have too many more of the smallish receivers. I think um, you'll have Tipton and you'll have Olave, but everybody else will be 6'2" and taller. So I'm excited about that. We're looking forward to the future. This season is over. This season is washed. It's just about developing, right? Um, so Olave, he had 4 catches, 47 yards, and a touchdown. Um, besides that last play where you know you would like your number one receiver to make that type of catch, make that play. Um, I don't fault him for not making it, but it still would have been great if he could come up with it. But he still had a good game. Juwan Johnson, 5 catches, 39 yards. Um, and it seems like since Shuck has come into the game, uh, you know, Juwan has been more focused um, and more reliable. So we'll see if that's something that continues. But trying to get your money's worth out of that contract that's dead and gone now. But that's another spot that we need to look for in the draft or in free agency come next year. So um, Devin Neal had 3 catches for 22 yards. Um, I do like this kid, man. I really do. He runs hard. He shows a little burst. He can catch. He's elusive, and he's a tough runner. So I like the complete package. Pause. But yeah, you know, let's see more Devin Neal. Mason Tipton, 3 catches for 20 yards. Again, you know, we're rebuilding the receiving core, so I do like the speed that Tip has to offer. Um, I just want to see him, used a little bit better. Um, he has to live in the intermediate and he has to live deep. So, um, Boston Morrow had 2 catches for 13 yards, and Taysom Hill had one for 5. So, good spreading around the ball. Um, you know, kind of reminds me of old number 9, old Drew the goat. But no, I'm just playing. But I like to see that. I like to see the development of the young QB. You know, Him being able to scramble around and avoid pressure. Man, we just got to shore up that offensive line, the interior, and I think we'll be pretty decent, man. A lot of young kids on the rise, so yeah, I think the offense, if the coach gets his stuff together, um, it can string together, you know, uh, an opening drive, you know, and I mean it's just the opening drive, you know. Let's get some points in the first quarter. Let's get a first down in the first quarter, in the first half. I mean, I don't understand. You know, you're scripting the plays, so I don't know. Um, Shout out to Charlie Smith, the international player that they just elevated from the practice squad. Good to see him get a 56-yard field goal. Blake Groupie could never. But it's good to see that. Um, Guy has a strong leg, so I mean, hopefully it works out. You know, nothing like homegrown talent. Okay. Um, into the defensive stat. Demario Davis, 5 tackles, 4 assists. Um, Terrell Burgess, 3 tackles, 4 assists. Cam Jordan, 2 tackles, 2 assists, 2 sacks. And to me, man, I mean, I know I heard a lot of different talking heads talking about, you know, is Cam a Hall of Famer? Cam, this is yes, he's a Hall of Famer. Yes, and um, it may not be resulting in the wins, or the momentum that we need, but he's getting sacks, man. He's still getting sacks, and what is that, 127 or 28 on his career? And that's Hall of Fame worthy. If that's not Hall of Fame worthy, then I don't know what is. So we salute you, Cam. We salute you, Cam, and we will see you in Canton. Um, Brian Brzee, uh, 2 tackles, 2 assists, 1 sack. Brian Brzee is always everywhere, man. You know, he's always everywhere, so I ain't got no issues with him. Devin Godchaux, 2 tackles, 2 assists. Um, Pete Werner, 2 tackles, 2 assists. Nathan Shepard, 2 tackles, 1 assist. Kool Aid had 2 tackles, 1 assist, and a big interception, man. Way to go up and get that, Kool Aid, man. Um, you know, we were hard on these guys, man, and still, but man, just I love to see these kids develop. Um, and it's cornerback, you got to have a short memory. And he'll get beat. He'll probably get beat the next game too. But you know, give us something. Give us something in return. Interception, pass breakup, punch the ball out, fumble recovery. Something. That's all we ask. Um, Chase Young, 2 tackles, 1 sack, and man, just imagine if Chase Young was there against Cardinals, against 49ers. You never know, man. He might swing those games. We might win those 2 games. And again, this season isn't about wins or losses or anything like that. If you think it is, you're on the wrong plane for that. But it's development. But Chase Young could have swung those games, man. You know, um, it was just a bit surprising to see that he got hurt that early. But he's back and we loving it, man. Alante Taylor, This guy is so disruptive, man. I love to see him flying throughout the field and making tackles and disrupting plays and things like that. But he had two tackles. Um, Jonas Sanker, one tackle, four assists. Jordan Howden, one tackle, three assists. Carl Granderson, one tackle, two assists. Danny Stutzman, one tackle, one assist, and he's always going to make it look good. That was a spectacular WWE Brock Lesnar tackle. Um, so I can't wait to see this guy on the field, man, just causing havoc. And then Quincy Riley, one tackle, one assist, and should have been another interception. Man, let me tell you, you know, the NFL has been, I don't know if there's a mandate for them screwing us over, but man, they have been finding spots to screw us over for so long. And I'm tired of it, man. You can't tell me that that was not an interception, you know. Um, but, you know, they call it how they see it. Nothing you can really do about it. But I'm sure that there'll be a missed call letter going out to the teams. So and that'll be on it. So, talking to my crew um during the game today, you know, they were talking about if they don't run this, here, then run this play here, maybe that would have got him in the end zone or did this to win the game. You know what? That sounds good, but it doesn't matter right. It doesn't matter right now. What matters is that these players progress, these players grow, these coaches grow, and we keep our draft position. That's the all-out win scenario. You know, enough to keep Chuck as your starting quarterback going into next year, and to get top five pick. That's how you build. That's how you build. Now you do have to hit on the pick, but man, that's how you build. You love to see it. Wins and losses don't matter right now. Just keep losing. And I don't want my team to lose, right? But what we have 5 more games left to go. Why mess that up now? You can still progress and look good and grow and not win. And I think that's what happened today from the second half on. Is that um, individual players look good and the offense looked excuse me, the offense looked more cohesive. The offense looked more like an NFL unit as opposed to a lower level college unit. Um, but yeah, man, I want to keep uh, I want to keep our pick in the top five. Um, and of course, I would love to, you know, add more draft capital, but at what assets do we have? So we have 7 picks going into next year's draft so far. Um, I would love to have another 9 pick draft. That would be awesome. Hopefully we get the compensatory pick um, for Paulson Adebo, the 4th round. But you know, man, the more we can add, the more we can develop, the more these coaches can get the type of players that they want. Because I'll be honest with you, man, this draft has to be more geared towards offense. This draft, you have to come away with at least at least three of your top four picks on the offensive side. So, if you have four picks in the top 100, three of those have to be offense. Have to, you know, wide receiver, um, tight end, offensive line, no doubt about it. Interior offensive line. We got our tackles. You know, I think Fuaga will be all right. I think Banks will be. I think Banks will be really good. But interior offensive line, you can't trust Eric McCoy anymore. He's like an old car. When something breaks, then everything else just starts to break down. So, um, and then the two guards, Ruiz gotta go, got to go. I don't know how many times I could say that. And then Dylan Radens, he gotta go. That's all I can say there. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. Who that nation stand up. We're gonna continue to grow. Um, we're gonna continue to watch, and we're gonna continue to root for the team. Because that's what real fans do. So, this has been Big Pop with another episode of the Lanyard Podcast. Who that nation stand up and holler at your boy. Like, comment, subscribe, right? Follow me on all social medias. Let's have a little conversation about it. One love. Peace.